15.
Yes.
Listen, I was last week, and I know there was a bunch of games that happened that were good, but I was a little disappointed. I guess I was looking for this big shootout between Bills and KC, and it was a more of a defensive struggle. You have a couple games that I just think we were looking for more, right? You had LA, Denver, Chargers kind of lay an egg. Dallas, Philly lays the egg. Miami, loses to Tennessee. You have the Giants beating Green Bay. You have teams that should have done things. San Francisco did what we expected to do. Baltimore losing to the Rams. The Jets had to win because, God forbid, we can do anything right, whether it be tanking or winning. So, go figure. I guess the best game was that Cleveland-Jackson game where you see Cleveland now is in the playoff race once again.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, as most games were duds. It started off with, I guess the first game, Steelers-Patriots, wasn't necessarily a dud compared to their over-under.
Oh,
it was not exactly a good football game to watch.
It was
Patriots basically had the 3 big play touchdowns, and that was it for the whole game. Watching Trubisky play quarterback is hard. He is.
I feel so bad for Pittsburgh fans right now.
We'll probably get into that in a second. But, besides that, I guess Chiefs-Bills kind of lived up to what it was supposed to be. It was a good game, but I mean, I think everyone wanted a repeat of their playoff matchup and wanted 40-plus points on each side. So, outside of I guess the biggest shock for me was Cowboys-Eagles. That would end up being Eagles laid a dud. But, yeah, I guess the only competitive game was really that Jags-Browns game. Every other game was not very competitive, to say the least.
Wait, you didn't like that Vikings-Raiders game, that 3-0 game?
Oh, my God. Talk about bad. That was Iowa and Nebraska right there was what that was.
I think it was a perfect first half of just punts, if I remember correctly. Oh no, there was a missed field goal.
There was a missed field goal. Yeah,
it's just fantastic.
I don't know. I feel and obviously a lot of this has to do with the quarterback situations and what's going on right now. How many guys have been on deemed out or out? It was 7 or 8 now.
There was maybe up to 10 backup quarterbacks all starting last week. So not exactly.
Yeah. I mean, some because they sucked, but how many actual injuries where quarterbacks are out for the season? You have, we'll see what happens with Rodgers, but Rodgers would be 1, Kirk Cousins 2, Herbert 3, Richardson 4, Deshaun Watson 5.
Yep.
I'm missing a few more. It's either Burrow 6
sideline due to season-ending injuries. Rodgers, Herbert, Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, and Herbert's on that list. I guess Trevor Lawrence will be coming back, so that's not end of the season, but that was close.
Is this the most quarterbacks have ever played, or most quarterbacks have ever started a season? Is this it? This is the year? Has to be.
It might be. I mean, we got to be there by now. I mean,
how many teams have started 4 quarterbacks? You look at Minnesota started 4. Cleveland started 4. The Jets have started 3, right? Because Semyon never got a start.
He played.
What is Las Vegas up to? They're 2 or 3.
I think 3, right?
3, because they went with.
It was Aiden O'Connell.
Hoyer,
Garoppolo. Right? Oh, Hoyer, I forgot about Hoyer.
Yeah. Texans have had 2, right?
Texans have had 2. Yeah, it's been bad. Seattle's had 2. I mean, you keep going down the list. It's just, Los Angeles has had 3. The Rams, they had the 3.
It's more of what teams have not had their starting quarterback miss a game this year.
Yeah.
Because the answer is pretty much Russell Wilson's the only one I can think of. Russell Wilson, Mahomes, Has Allen missed a game?
Mahomes, Allen, Russ, Hurts,
Lawrence,
Dak. No, Lawrence. Lawrence has played every single game, hasn't he? No. He was hurt. Wait, actually, I can't remember. Was Lawrence out every game? He's in every game?
No,
because he's been in every game.
Beathard started a game? I don't think he did, AJ. I think he's has played every single game.
He's played every game. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I got you. I see it now. I mean, even Carolina, the first overall pick was out for a little while. New Orleans, Derek Carr has not missed a game, which is pathetic. He absolutely should have missed a game.
Jameis should be starting.
Is better. Yeah, he's so much better.
I like watching Jameis so much more. Like, I get he is not the better option in terms of winning football games because he's going to throw 3 picks a game, but it's so much fun. Like, as a person who's only turning on a Saints game for, like, fantasy football implications, I want Jameis Winston in that football game. Chuck it downfield to Olave. That's all I want to see.
What was it, like 5 or 6 weeks ago, right? His across the body pass into the end zone for the touchdown.
Other side of the end zone.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Top from anybody is only one person in the NFL would throw this pass and only one person would complete it, and that man is Jameis Winston.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
I mean, obviously guys have come in for mop-up duty, like Miami, Mike White came in, you had Green Bay, Love has started every game. Tampa, you had Baker started every game. Detroit, you have obviously Jared Goff. There's 12 teams that have started that every week is the same starter. 12 teams. That's crazy.
Really? Interesting.
Well,
yeah, I'm just looking at it, right? Tampa, so count this up, AJ. Tampa, Detroit, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Baltimore, San Fran, Buffalo, KC, Denver, Philly, Dallas.
It's 11. I count 11 there.
Oh, Miami. Miami is 12. Sorry, 12. I forgot Miami. That's 12. That's crazy. Yeah. 30 teams, and you have 12 that have only they've only started one guy. Yeah, it's pathetic. The NFL, get your quarterbacks right because this is bad.
I feel like there's just been a lot more injuries this year than normal. I feel like I always say this every year, but I feel like this year even more so. Like just more notable guys getting injured, and maybe that's the case, but just more severe injuries. It feels like a lot more ACL tears and stuff like that, or like Achilles tears.
Yeah, I would say that's the big thing. It felt like in previous years there weren't a lot of non-contact injuries on quarterbacks specifically, and this year, just the amount of non-contact injuries happening to quarterbacks. I mean, we got 2 Achilles tears. I don't still fully understand what exactly happened to Joe Burrow. I know it was something in his elbow. Whether or not that happened in practice or in the game, I'm still not sure. But that felt like a non-contact injury with his elbow just kind of exploding. So, I mean, it's just unusual to see that happen. Even they turn on Hard Knocks, and you go watch Hard Knocks, 2nd episode, Jaden Phillips, Achilles, gone. You're just like, man. Be interesting to see.
Raiders
but outside of the games we've briefly discussed, was there any game from last week that anyone particularly enjoyed that they would like to talk more about?
No. Nope.
I mean, I think just because it was an entertaining ending, I do think that Bills Chiefs game with Kadarius Toney, right, and his offsides was fantastic.
Oh, it was. And then Mahomes just bitching and complaining about it the entire time. Where he even snubbed Josh Allen. Not that I like Josh Allen, but just totally snubbed Josh Allen.
Well, I'm happy that they actually ruled that offsides because if you watch the NFL now, the amount of offensive penalties that offensive teams are getting away with pre-snap, honestly, it's a lot. If you want the best example of it, you just watch any Dolphins game.
Or Eagles.
There's not supposed to be 2 people moving at the same time. They're not supposed to go downfield when they're shifting, laterally across the line. And you watch, and those wide receivers are already taking off down the field before that ball is hiked a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
there were 7 or 8 times where he was offside.
It sucked that it happened in the big game, but
Well, and I think it's one thing too. Like if it's like ticky tacky where he's like just over or whatever, you look at
he was off.
that. Yeah, you
Oh,
look
he's
at
way
that.
off.
You know, down the line, and he is like a foot over. It's like you have to call that. That's something you can't like be like, oh well, you know, we'll let it go.
The only thing I didn't like, and I thought someone just said this, is that he was offsides for 7 or 8 plays throughout the game, where people went back and saw it, and then they only make the call on the last. That is what can't happen.
Yeah,
and
that's fair. You want it called before, so it doesn't affect the outcome of the game, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, not that it doesn't affect. I can if they called it every single time, or if they called it a couple times and then they gave him some leeway. They waited to the exact second to last play to call that, and that's why I don't like it, and I can understand why they'd be frustrated about that. I mean, Toney's an idiot, and he's cost them 2 games now. The guy should be absolutely removed from their team. He's a cancer too. He's just an idiot altogether. But I didn't like that call. I think that's 2 bad calls, and it was the right call. Just like it was the right call, or it was the right call, unlike the game previous where they didn't have the pass interference on the MVS catch, where clearly, I mean, he hit him well before Scantling even touched the ball, and he did touch the ball, which makes that catchable. The fact that they called that ball not catchable, and that's why they didn't call that penalty, is crazy, because it actually hits his hand. But anyways, so Mahomes afterwards apologizes, to Josh Allen in that day afterwards, because he realized he looked like a complete baby. But yeah, listen, none of the games I think last week were very good. I mean, the Baltimore LA Rams were overtime. The punt return was interesting. I liked that a little bit. The Cleveland Jacksonville game was also very interesting. Just it was altogether hectic. Joe Flacco, he earns $4 million for every win that he gets. That's a great contract, by the way.
Yeah.
And
that's like the Jimmy G one last year, right? With San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got $500,000 for playing in a game and a full $1 million for winning the game.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
The other game that not interested me, because obviously Tennessee, Miami was, you had Vrabel pulling off a good win, and you had, Giants kind of fighting back against Green Bay. That was good too. But Cincinnati, Indianapolis. Now, I like Indy. I think they could be a playoff team, a bubble playoff team. I think Minshew's done really well as the starter there since Richards went out. But Jake Browning, it's only happened in 2 instances where a backup quarterback has led a team to a Super Bowl. It happened a little while ago with, one Nick Foles, Big Nick.
Yep, Big Dick.
It's happened with Jim Hostetler. I can't remember if it was Jim or Jeff with the Giants.
Brady. Brady's first Super Bowl, he was technically the backup.
I guess. All right, sure,
they
Brady.
Yes,
you're
the
correct.
starting job back to Bledsoe,
yeah,
but he did start the season as the backup.
But I think in those other ones, obviously, if what's his name if Phil Simms had come back, he would have been the starter. And the same thing if Carson Wentz had came back, he would have also been the starter.
Yeah.
Like they were riding the Brady train, while these other teams were just they couldn't go back to the other guy, right? Jake Browning has something, and it's interesting and fun to watch. He's doing really well. They still have all these weapons. Mixon's playing well. They have Chase Brown's running off. The only guy that really hasn't even been involved is T. Higgins, and he's fine. Last week. Jamar Chase didn't have a good week. 3 for 29. T. Higgins was 2 for 72. He had the one bomb. He had 2 longer catches.
That's the name you're looking for.
Boyd was another guy, but he didn't really get his big guys involved last week as much. He had Chase Brown at 80 yards and a touchdown on 3 catches. But he's doing things. He's running 3 for 7 with the touchdown. He has 2 more throwing touchdowns. The one to Brown, and then he had the one to Tanner Hudson, the tight end. I think that Cincinnati's going to make the playoffs, and I'd be scared of them because of the weapons. He can use them.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with it. The one thing I would say is it's tough to evaluate off the Colts. I'm not saying the Colts have a bad defense. You have to understand the style of football the Colts like to play.
Yeah.
The style of football the Colts are playing right now is they are running the most plays in the NFL. So, I mean, I'm not discrediting 34 points in the Bengals. That is an impressive performance. But the real test for Browning is going to come in weeks 16 and 17. Steelers and Chiefs back-to-back weeks. No more cakewalk defenses for Browning. He's going to have to – did they get Browns week 18 too? So 3 weeks in a row playing three of arguably the best defenses in the NFL. He's going to have to prove it if they're going to go to the playoffs.
And Minnesota is not a slouch. Ever since they've kind of turned around with who's the defensive coordinator? The former head coach of the Dolphins, who got the black ball. Brian Flores.
Oh yeah,
he's coached this team where he's just throwing guys everywhere and confusing the crap out of people, and he's making his defense look really good. I think that if he can get wins against the Vikings and Steelers, get this a 9-win team, I think that that's going to be enough for a playoff spot. And I'd be worried about the Chiefs, but I still think they could beat the Browns, and that might be a playoff game right there, where winner goes in.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. He's looked good from the little window that we've seen of him. Yeah. What do you guys?
It helps when you're in a system. It helps when you're in a system that long where you can sit back and watch and learn. Like, I really do think that coaches, as a detriment, and I understand why, but give your first round picks some time to watch and learn. And I understand you get this shiny new toy, and the owner says put him in right away. He's the number 1 overall pick, number 2 overall pick, whatever. Give these guys 6 games, 10 games. If you can give them a full season, awesome, right? Like, that's why I kind of want the Jets to take a first-round quarterback, because he'll sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a full year, and that can only help you.
I will say, though, that's a luxury to have. Right?
Yeah, no, it is. I understand.
A lot of these teams, right, it's you don't have the starter, right? You have some of these teams, right, have the defensive pieces, or they have the weapons on offense, and they just they need the quarterback, and they're just like, all right, that's our best bet.
But so we're looking at teams this year for quarterbacks, right? And you're looking through the list, and obviously names jump out at you, the Bears, right? And it really depends on what they do with Justin Fields, but get a capable backup. Andy Dalton this is actually a prime example with Carolina. He number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young has not looked good, and Andy Dalton is capable starter. Put him in. They should have from the beginning given him 6 games and let him come in. And I just think that really, because you can see he's faltering badly. And it's also on the coaching staff. They're a bunch of idiots. But
So my question to you all then is Andy Dalton a good enough teacher for Bryce Young?
I don't even know if it needs to be the backup that's teaching. I think it's his ability to look and understand better from a vantage point where he can sit back and see things happening and just get time to learn the system, because I don't think an off season is long enough. I really think you need a year. I do.
Well, I would add more to it. You don't need a guy who is just a good quarterback. You can be a tremendous athlete and not know the X's and O's. It happens all the time. Shaq's come out and talked about it in basketball, for example. They've asked him, Shaq, what's your best low post move? And he's literally gone with, I had one. I did it every time. No one could stop it. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have the best mind in the game to be a good player, and it can go either ways. And that's how guys like Andy Dalton stay in the league, because he's never really done much to prove to anyone that he should be. His physical attributes are one of a game-winning quarterback. But the thing that we don't get to see as just spectators of the sport is what's going on inside that QB room. And that's where it really matters is what I want in a backup quarterback is I do want a vet. Even if he's not very good, I want someone who's going to teach my young quarterback how to break down defenses. You can do it. You do it a little bit in college. You do it slightly in high school. But By the time you get the NFL, there's an expectation that you're going to the play with 3 or 4 play calls, and you're supposed to be picking the best one off of the defense you're seeing. In college, it's less. You're going to play to the line with like 1 or 2, and half the time you're being told what to audible into. But that's the thing that you need to get better at in the NFL level is reading those defenses, figuring out what plays to audible into, when to run plays, and not only that, figuring out when they're bluffing on blitzes, setting up defensive pack. Like it's all the intangibles that these young quarterbacks need to get. But the other thing is what we talked about the other week is I can't evaluate Bryce Young when his best wide receiver is Adam Thielen.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, Thielen did really well this year, but yeah, I agree. I would agree. Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, that's
they're not going to even have their own first round pick too. Oh my God, they could have.
They got no first round pick. They got to find a way to give him better weapons. You can also look at the Bears, and it's like I don't think they should give up on Justin Fields yet because okay, they got DJ Moore, but they also traded for Claypool. That didn't work out, and he's basically out of the league by now. You just got to give them more opportunities to succeed before you can say this guy's a dud. You look at quarterbacks that have come in and done exceedingly well. They've either had great defenses behind them or had some offensive juggernaut on their team that they were able to lean on right out of the gate. And these guys don't have that.
Yeah, I just think so. Kind of like what you said, Brett. Like the quarterback room, right? I think it depends on who they have around that rookie QB or whoever it is, right? So that they can help them learn. If you have somebody that is, I mean, I know there's a lot of backup, names that kind of just go unnoticed, but like, I feel like if that guy is not a good, film guy or something like that, how is he helping your rookie out, right? How is he helping your starting QB out? He's not. That's what I'm saying. Having somebody like Aaron Rodgers, right, who is literally a student of the game, knows the ins and outs, knows everything, right? That's why it was going to hopefully work, right? For Zach Wilson,
you couldn't help
that he was
Zach Wilson,
but different though, right? Because he was supposed to learn, by watching Rodgers this whole entire year, not being thrown into it. Rodgers the first few weeks, right after having the Achilles tear, wasn't going to be in that room the whole time. He was rehabbing, he was having surgery, recovering, stuff like that. So I'm sure those are 2 or 3 weeks where he missed film session with Wilson, being like, all right, this is what I see, this is what I would do.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's tough, but it's just more of like, as much as you want the shiny car, you just don't get the shiny car until you have the nice playpen to put the shiny car in. Playpen is probably wrong. Garage. We'll go with don't buy the Lamborghini until you got a garage to put the Lamborghini in. If you're parking the Lamborghini on the street, it's just going to get beat up, no matter what you try to do.
Yeah.
What changing subjects, what do you guys think about the Belichick news or the rumors of Belichick?
It's nothing official yet, which there was a report that came out from the Score or whatever stating that they stating that they mutually agreed to part ways, right? Until it happens, I can't see, them really, saying goodbye to the best coach of all time.
Yeah, reports like this are reports that get me frustrated with the media nowadays.
They're idiots.
This is an internal team conversation. Like this, the news was not that he's going to be fired. The news was at the end of the season, we're going to part ways amicably. And it's like, okay, then like, don't break that news. It just doesn't help. Like, I imagine this was something the owner discussed with Belichick. Kraft and Belichick sat down. They said, this is what's going to happen at the end of the season. They told the wrong person. Belichick probably wasn't going to tell his team until after the year. And now you got a bunch of guys who are sitting there playing for a guy who they know is going to leave them in like 3 weeks. Not really. I don't know. These are reports that should be left in the locker room, and they should not escape the locker room. Unless the report was he's actually being fired. But the fact that it's, in 4 weeks from now, he won't be the coach. I just keep that inside. That doesn't need to come out.
So I'm interested if this is actually kind of true. I'm interested to see, one, if it's Belichick just giving up the coaching duties and still being a GM if he wants to do that, or if he just still wants to be a coach and go somewhere else.
I think he wants to be a
I'd
coach.
imagine he'd go somewhere else. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking too. But
I think this is also
the coach GM thing is interesting, right? Because he's been it for so long.
It's a tough sell to other teams now, especially watching what has happened to the talent on the Patriots team in recent years, and a lot of busted draft picks, inability to draft a decent wide receiver to save his life. So, I mean, it'll be some questionable things. It'll be a tough sell. I don't know if he's going to get another GM job with another team. He's definitely going to get a head coaching job. But, yeah, it's going to be a tough sell for him. We'll see. I don't know. I don't even think I know where he's going to go. I know a lot of people think he's probably going to the Cardinals just because they think they're also going to hit the reset button.
Cardinals?
You guys haven't seen any of this?
No, I've heard Washington and I've heard San Diego.
I've heard Washington, San Diego, obviously, now that
I've not heard the Cardinals. Why would he ever go to the Cardinals?
Because they would be one of the teams stupid enough to give him GM privileges again.
I think any team would give that up. I don't think that, or at least give him partial say. Nah, that's an interesting one. I've never heard that one. Yeah. All right. Let's quickly go this week, and then we'll get out of here. One game each, you guys. What, AJ? Got one?
I mean, just looking at the slate of games, I think probably one of the best games is at 425, that Dallas Buffalo game.
Yep.
Dallas smacking Philly, Buffalo, beating Kansas City. This could it be a potential Super Bowl matchup? Could it be? So it's going to be an interesting game, right? Buffalo needs this game obviously to stay alive, in that race for the division, and also for a wild card spot in general. So that's the game I'm most looking forward to.
Brett,
I am a big fan of what we got going on Saturday, kind of all across the board.
Yeah.
Not tremendous games, but we're looking at 3 games on Saturday that all have some serious playoff implications. So at least we got going to have some teams going out there busting it. I mean, pick any of 3, but I like the Broncos, Lions. How long can the Broncos keep this train going? Can they win the AFC West? I didn't think that would be possible, but here they are. They're a game back, 3 to go. They might be able to do it. I'm excited to watch that one. So I'm all in Broncos Lions Saturday Night Football.
Broncos country.
Yeah, Broncos country. I'll go the flex. I'll go the flex Sunday night. Baltimore at Jacksonville. Obviously, Baltimore controlling their destiny a little bit here. If they get a win, they're looking for that number 1 seed. Jacksonville needs to get going here, and they have a Houston team sniffing down their neck. You don't want to go into the playoffs limping. You want to go up, a couple of high notes. So let's see if Jacksonville, at home, if they can take a Baltimore team their best punch with Lamar and company, who's passing the ball a lot better, by the way. We'll see whether they get going this week. But obviously a good week of football coming up. Some good games, some still bad ones. 21-0. By the way, Raiders or Chargers. Easton Stick stinks. Eckler with 7 rushing yards. My God, he's going to be terrible. Zamir White's got a touchdown on the ground.
Trivia or anything. I had one question for you guys. If there was any team right now who is most likely to win their division that you're worried about for playoffs, and what I mean by worried, I mean like you're worried about first round exit. Talking division winners. So I mean, don't say like Browns, Bengals, like Browns, Bengals, Steelers, like all the guys sitting on the edge of wild card.
And we shouldn't include the NFC South.
Yeah, no, that's just in general. We're concerned for all of that.
Because that team's going to be 8-9 that comes in and we wins up, starts a playoff game. So.
Oh yeah, I'm talking more of the guy of the teams
I got you.
At the top right now. So like,
all right, AJ, let's go first.
So I think there's.
Chiefs.
I think realistically, there's only 2 teams out of what I would think are going to be the division winners out of all of them that I'd be worried about. And Bill, I think you'll take the other one, but I'm kind of a little worried about Miami.
Okay,
I
didn't see that one coming.
I think they're teetering on that fraudulent.
But they're a warm weather team.
I don't know.
But
there's something about them, right? That
they'll be hosting a first round playoff game, which will help them.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're a warm weather game. I don't have any reservations about KC, although they need help at wide receiver. Their GM's an idiot. Jacksonville or Indy / Texans. We'll see what happens. Those are all meh teams, right? Baltimore, I think, is good. You go down to the NFC. We don't have to talk about the South, but San Francisco's a juggernaut. I think Detroit is a good team. It's the Dallas Cowboys. It's a team that continually Dallas Cowboys. It's a team that continually
even after the win they just put up against the Eagles. You're concerned?
I think Philly is flawed. I really do. I think that their running game is an issue. Their defense can't stop me and AJ and Brett. Line up across them. It's their playmakers dropping the ball in key spots. I think they have a little hangover from last year, and they haven't looked good in a while, and Hurts has not looked good either. But Dallas is, to me, yeah, it's still Dallas. I still have that same wait till the playoffs. But I do think they're very one-dimensional. It's CeeDee Lamb, and they haven't used Pollard right the way I would think so. They're using Rico Dowdle. I think Dallas is the one I'd be worried about. Yeah.
So ironically, they're the only team that's 7-0 at home too. So if they do have a home playoff game, I mean, they're due for a loss then, right? So
maybe.
When is our fateful Miami Cowboys matchup? I think that's next week.
Next week, yeah, it's 2 weeks. Yeah,
that's next week. We'll finally get Cowboys Dolphins. We'll see which one's a real pretender. I was going to go with the Dolphins. Wasn't for the same reasons that AJ said. I'm concerned about that Tyreek Hill ankle, and I'm very concerned about it.
I feel like he's always like that though. Every year he's got some kind of like sprain that is kind of just like nags, but he's always a workhorse and just plays.
Yeah,
well, he always has an injury.
My concern is mainly going into this week. You got the Jets this week, right? So you're Miami, you got the Jets this week. So Tyreek Hill with a bad ankle matched up against probably the best secondary in the league. I'm a little worried. If I had to pick an almost upset of the week it'd be Jets over Dolphins this week.
I hope not. I want a better draft pick.
What do you mean you hope not? You don't want the Jets to beat the Dolphins?
No, I want a better draft pick.
Yeah, agreed.
The Jets aren't making waves in the playoffs. They're not.
No, listen, Aaron Rodgers might be back in 2 weeks. They said versus Washington, but still, it's a down year. I want them I want Rodgers to play well and them still to lose.
Well, that's fair. But if I had to pick an NFC team, I'm worried about the Lions. They have not been the Lions for the past couple weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown got held in check last week. That has not happened all year. And it kind of feels like the same narrative we had with Jared Goff when he was on the Rams. Great regular season quarterback, can't win the big game. Looks like we're creeping back into that realm of maybe Goff can't handle the lights at the end of the day.
All right. Yeah, maybe.
There's some questionable teams for sure.
There are. Yeah, there really are. All right. Trivia. We'll get out of here.
All right. So even with the Rams' loss last week, Puka Nacua, the Rams' 5th round pick, kept his historic rookie season alive. Nacua has had a steady day with 5 receptions for 84 receiving yards, and he now has 1,113 receiving yards in his early career. He joins which 3 other players as the only players in the Super Bowl era with 1,100 plus receiving yards in their first 13 games. So 3 players to have over 1,100 receiving yards in their first 13 games.
Give me Megatron.
Not Megatron.
What?
Randy Moss, right?
Randy Moss is one.
Yeah.
The other one you should be able to get, and then the third one I don't know.
Give us.
Is it Jamar Chase?
Not Jamar Chase.
Justin Jefferson.
Not Justin Jefferson.
He
probably had the greatest like single season catch ever of all time.
Odell.
Oh, Beckham.
Odell is
and
the
then
second
the third
one.
is older.
Third is older, no longer in the league. He was drafted in 2003.
Oh, I know who it is. Anquan Bolden.
Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, you didn't have to tell me. If you didn't tell me the year, I would have got, because he had a ridiculous rookie year with Arizona. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
He had like 100 catches that year. I think he was nasty. Yeah, not bad. Listen, we're out. We will be back next week, Thursday, football prime time, 8 o'clock. We were a little bit late this one. I had a baby to take care of. AJ, Brett, enjoy the rest of the football. The rest of the fans, enjoy the football. This is football prime time.